Yes, we have come to the most important part of the service, right? This is the time where you have all been waiting for this wonderful joke. You know the difference between a dad joke and a bad joke, right? It's the first letter, folks. That sound gives me so much joy. It is good to be with you. Happy Sabbath, everyone. We are diving into part 6, not part 7. I put part 7 on the newsletter by accident. Part 6 of our series of the 7 sins of Suburbia. The 7 sins of Suburbia. Today we're going into another beatitude that I want to be able to share with you. We've been walking this journey so far. Could we mute that, please? That was my fault. We've been walking through Beatitudes, and we have come to Beatitude number 5. 4 or 5? Have I got it wrong? Beatitude number 4, I think it is. In Matthew chapter 5, that's what was confusing me, because it's Matthew chapter 5. Beatitude number 4, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 7, here it is. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive what? Mercy. That's where we are today. Today, I am speaking on the subject, no credit check required. Let's pray. Father, I want to thank you so much for being a good God to us. Right now, as I'm about to unveil my research, the words that I put together, I recognize that you are the one who needs to fill in these gaps and take these words and bring life to them. So will you do that for each and every one of us? Prepare our hearts, Lord, so that we may receive what it is you have for us. In your name I pray. Amen. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. It was one of the most adventurous decisions of my entire life when I bought a boat. When I bought a boat and I lived on this vessel for 3 solid years. I kind of miss those days. I miss going up and down the canal in England. I miss being able to moor my boat wherever I wanted to moor. It was, if I didn't like the view, I could just continue cruising down the English canals until I find a view that I loved. In England, after paying rent for years and years, after about 5 years, I did the very scary thing of punching into the calculator how much rent I had paid over those 5 years, and I almost had a heart attack. And that was the moment I decided this cannot go on. And much like here in the Pacific Northwest, where house prices are heartbreak worthy, I couldn't get on the property ladder because it was just too difficult. The down payment was too high. And so I decided to do something wild and different. I decided to find something that nobody else was, or at least not many other people were doing, and that was invest in a vessel to live on. Yes, it was humble living, but after paying 5 years of rent with nothing to show for it but just receipts, I was done. And even though I couldn't get on the housing market, I reached for something that I thought was more in reach. And I decided that the down payment was less, and all I would need is to get a loan. There would be less hoops than trying to obtain a house. And even though it would be small, even though it would be kind of thin, I never professed to be the biggest guy in the world. I could fit on a vessel. Marvin would struggle on this. And I went ahead and I decided I'm going to try and get this asset, and then at least the money that I would pay on the loan would go towards my asset, and at least it would be investment in something that I would have. But the scariest part of living on a boat is not actually, well, for me, wasn't living on the actual vessel. The scariest part in this whole procedure was the loan application. Now, to give you some context, there was a season in my life for many years, from the age of 18 up until my mid-30s, where I was in excruciating debt. Credit cards, loans, you name it, and the numbers kept racking up. Let's just say that I wasn't the best at dealing with money. And I honestly thought that the credit card was just free money at 18 years old, and I didn't realize that until the bills started to come, and they grew and grew and grew, and so I pushed myself more and more into debt. My credit score was so bad that when I tried to sign up for a pay monthly phone of £30 a month, I got declined. It was embarrassing. It was difficult. You know what's even more embarrassing is that I actually, when I joined the church and became a pastor in 2013, I was the pastor of a church, and yet I was carrying all this debt. Some example that is. And it was difficult. And the idea of even just applying for a loan to obtain a vessel was wild. But I got to work. I somehow pulled myself together and I started to put a plan together. I started to reduce my expenditure and I worked hard to pay off one debt at a time, one debt at a time. And I managed to get a hold of my finances. It's not that my debt was eradicated, but I put a plan together and I started to change my story. I was no longer going to be defined by the debt that was in my life. So slowly, painfully, year after year, I paid down all of my debts. I cut my spending and I closed the gap on my income to debt ratio. And then I was ready. Well, at least I thought I was ready to apply for the loan to get a boat. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense when you have debt and now you're applying for a loan to have more debt. But this, I felt, was a good direction. And if I could just satisfy the requirements of the banks, then maybe they could lend me the money that I had just paid off, even more than the money that I had just paid off, so that I could secure this vessel, so that I could stop paying rent, so that by the time this is all done, maybe I can sell the boat and make a little profit. And the day came. I was online and I filled out the forms and I was nervous because I know that after the end of this application, when I hit submit, there is every possibility that this plan is going to go to the wire. And I will get those words that I've seen so often over and over again, declined. We regret to inform you, declined. I remember my heart beating so fast. And if you've ever been in debt, you probably understand this feeling. If not, just try and jump into my shoes. I'm trying to get a hold of my life. I'm trying to get a headway, but there is still this debt that's holding me back. I was so much in debt that I used to avoid my phone calls from unknown numbers because I knew who they were. But the day came. I submitted all the details. I filled out everything. I put everything through online and I hit submit and waited. You know the whirling circle on your screen where you're just waiting and waiting. And then the words came up on the screen. Approved. I couldn't believe it. This was wild. I think I shed a tear. But maybe. When the approval came through, it was like Air rushed back into my lungs. There was joy, relief, there was gratitude. I wanted to tell everyone what had happened, but I didn't want to tell everyone what had happened because I didn't want to tell everyone that I was in debt. I didn't want to tell the story of that I was still in debt, and this is the reason why I was so relieved at this moment. But I was just so excited that finally I could actually make a positive step in my life. Approved. The system had looked at my history, they looked at my numbers, they looked at my file and said, approved. I want you to understand something. This is not a story of grace. This is simply a story that tells you I passed for the financial system that was set up. The system that was set up that governs all of the applications that come through for all kinds of credits. They assess you based on your income. They assess you based on your debt-to-income ratio. They even assess you based on where you live, on the zip code that you live and work in. There are all these different factors. This wasn't grace. Okay. Well done to Sam because he worked hard and did his best to try and bring his numbers low, pay off his debts. But this is not grace. This is Sam satisfying the banking requirements in order to get the loan. Well done to me that I was able to work that hard in order to satisfy the requirements. But the only reason why I got approved is because of the hard work I put. It's because of the expenditures that I knocked down. It's because of the debt ratio that I squeezed closer and closer together. And because of that, I was given the approval. It is not because the loan company decided to say, doesn't look good, let's give him a shot. Maybe in the olden days when people used to go up and get an actual interview with a bank manager, maybe in the olden days you might experience some kind of grace, but this was some kind of grace, but this was all a computerized system that plugs in numbers, and on the other side you get approved or declined. If you meet the standard, you're approved. And if you don't, you're denied. Simple as that. In that moment, I was proud. Because I played by the rules and I finally had a win. Satisfied the conditions. Earned it. Proven myself. And that is how our world works. That's how our world works in Suburbia. In all of our lives, we see transactional relationships take place in our finances. We see transactional relationships take place in our work environments, in our vocations, in our schools. Everything is governed and built around the transaction. Approval only if you qualify. Blessings only if you measure up. We learn it everywhere we turn. The HOA tells me that the grass has to be a certain length, and if it's not, then you will get a letter. The HOA tells you that the house has to be painted this color and not that color, and your bins need to be kept out of sight, and you break the rules, and the fines start to come. Let's not talk about how the HOA doesn't keep their deal on the other side, but they don't fulfill the transaction. But the school system is built around transaction. Test scores, attendance, extracurriculars. When you fall behind, you're labelled. When you stay ahead, you are rewarded and celebrated. What about some clubs or societies that you join? Maybe the gym, or you pay your membership fees, your dues are kept up, your behaviour is aligned, and you're welcome. Miss a payment and you are out. Even relationships. I'll show up for you as long as you show up for me. I will forgive you if you deserve it. I'll be kind to you if you've earned it. It's all transactions, systems designed to reward the ones who keep the rules and exclude the ones who don't. Now we come to this fifth beatitude. Context for the fifth beatitude. Fourth beatitude, I keep getting this wrong. Fourth beatitude. Context for the fourth beatitude. Now, the three beatitudes before, I'm so sorry about the screen. Someone text me this week and just tell me, change the colors on the screen, because I keep forgetting every week. Someone just do that. All right, I'll read it for you if you can't see it. The first three beatitudes we covered is, blessed are those who mourn. Then blessed are the meek. Then blessed are those who hunger. Now hunger and thirst for righteousness. We've covered these beatitudes. Notice all of these beatitudes are all about you. All of these beatitudes have everything to do with you. Thanks for changing the screen. Thanks for that, Madra. They're all about you. These beatitudes identify characteristics that you and I either carry or are encouraged to carry. But Jesus wants to make something very clear as we reach the next beatitude. Jesus makes a pivot. And here's the pivot. This is the first beatitude where we are now looking outwards. So it seems. It says, blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. When you hear the word mercy or merciful, you're automatically brought into the idea that you have to think about someone else to be merciful to. And what Jesus wants to let you know, it's only through the power of the first three beatitudes of looking inwards and having a reform in your inward heart that you have the capability to get to beatitude number 4. Blessed are the merciful. Because once you reform the inward kingdom, it's only natural that you're able to give birth to the outward kingdom that comes out of you. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Let's be honest, mercy doesn't come naturally to all of us. What comes naturally is transaction. Mercy doesn't come easy to me when I'm coming down the 405 and the American drivers pull over and make me brake in front of me. Mercy isn't the first emotion that comes to my mind. Let's be honest, from childhood we're taught life is an exchange. Do the work, earn the reward, fall short, pay the price. By adulthood, it's in our bones. Approval if you qualify, rejection if you don't. And then when comfort comes in Suburbia, this kind of baptizes the mindset until it feels like common sense. Today, I want to talk about transactional living. This is what I believe is the next suburban sin. It says, I'll give you if you've earned it, I'll forgive you if you deserve it, and I'll be kind only if it makes sense. It's all transactions. Here's the danger. When we live long enough in these systems, they don't just shape our habits, they actually shape our hearts. The idea of mercy becomes conditional, and forgiveness turns into a contract, and people get reduced to scores. But Jesus, in this particular beatitude, completely interrupts this idea, and he calls for you to be merciful regardless of the conditions. Jesus interrogates us, and he asks us to move our minds away from what can be earned and who deserves it. And Jesus doesn't tell you to give mercy to those who have worked hard to receive it or have the most appropriate relationship, because Jesus wants to teach us that the kingdom of God does not run on transactions. It runs on mercy. Blessed are the merciful. Mercy. What does mercy actually mean? The dictionary says this: clemency and compassion shown to a person who is in a position of powerlessness or subjection, or to a person with no right or claim to receive kindness, kind and compassionate treatment in a case where severity is merited or expected in given legal judgment or passing sentence. Mercy. This is our modern translation of what we think of when we give mercy. Now, the Bible has some different ideas that I want to try and unpack with you. Now, we're looking at Matthew chapter 5 verse 7, where it says, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy." That merciful, that Greek word is only used twice in the entire New Testament. There are other words for mercy, but this particular word, blessed are the merciful, is used once in Matthew chapter 5, and the second place it is used is here in Hebrews chapter 2 verse 7. Out of all the New Testament, this one word is a very specifically chosen word that Matthew chooses, the writer of Hebrew chooses over here. It says, "Therefore he had to become like his brothers and sisters in every respect, so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in the service of God, to make a sacrifice of atonement for the sins of the people." Understand that if you want to try and grapple with this word mercy, the same word that Jesus uses in Matthew chapter 5, it is put alongside the description of what it takes for a God to sacrifice his life for the whole of humanity. That's what mercy is. The writer in Matthew sits down as he pens this together in Matthew chapter 5. He wants to try and tell you that this isn't some kind of hobby that you pick up and you decide to be merciful on Sabbath or on Sunday or when you're feeling right. No. This kind of mercy is so extreme, it causes a God to die for you. That's the kind of extremity that this mercy calls for. Why does Matthew, the note-taker, this careful author, choose this word, this very rare word that only comes up twice in the New Testament? Because he pulls it from Israel's deepest vocabulary in the Old Testament. Some of you might have seen this before. In Exodus chapter 34, the Lord, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. This word that is used here is the word hesed. Now, I've covered this before in previous sermons, but I'm just going to give you a quick outline. Hesed is the Hebrew word for what is used as mercy here. God's loyal, covenant-keeping love, the love that never lets go, the love that keeps faith with us even when we break faith with him. There is also another Hebrew word that is used for mercy, and that is the term rahamim. And this means from the root for womb, as in a lady's womb. Mercy that is tender and visceral and aching. Mercy that feels, mercy that moves like a mother's love for her child. These are the only two words that are used in the Old Testament to describe mercy. Understand, when Jesus uses the word in Matthew, blessed are the merciful, he is encapsulating both of the Old Testament phrases. Jesus is saying that blessed are the merciful, blessed are those who have a faithful love, a covenantal love, a love that is similar to when a contract is broken. He also is encapsulating blessed are those who have a merciful kind of posture, a compassion so deep it is compared to a mother's love for her child in her womb. Mercy is not a hobby. Mercy is the nature of the kingdom because it is the nature of God. There's the promise. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Notice that Jesus doesn't say, blessed are the merciful because they have earned mercy. He doesn't say, blessed are the merciful because God now owes them mercy. No, no, no. This verb is actually the grammatical context. It would be better to be described as they will be shown mercy. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive, they will be shown mercy, or they will experience mercy. This verb is an action that belongs to God. This is not transaction, folks. It's not tit for tat. It's not you scratch my back, I scratch yours. He's describing the rhythm of grace. Let me describe it like this. When you extend mercy, you place yourself in the stream of God's mercy. And He pours more life into you than you could ever pour. Being merciful is joining God on the tract of mercy. And here's the contrast. Transactional living asks, do they deserve it? Mercy asks, what do they need? Transactional living calculates the risk. Well, if I forgive them, will they change? Maybe they'll let me down again. If I help them, will they waste it? If I show kindness, they'll take advantage of me. Mercy doesn't wait for guarantees. Mercy counts the cost and moves anyway. Transactional living withholds until the other person qualifies. Mercy flows because God has already given freely. And that's what makes mercy scandalous. Mercy completely decimates our court systems. Mercy takes the law and does this to the law. That's what mercy does. Mercy makes things uncomfortable because when you feel wronged, the only thing that you want is justice. Jesus responds, blessed are the merciful. You know, the funny thing is the interesting thing is Jesus doesn't just teach this, but He actually embodies this. Jesus is the one who dines with tax collectors and sinners, people that society have declined. He touches the lepers. People, religion has stamped unclean. Some time ago when I was a pastor in England, I went to visit a member. It was an old lady, and I developed a relationship with her. And every time I would come to visit her, she couldn't do much. She couldn't walk. She could barely even make it to the kitchen. And I would just visit, sit, and talk with her. After a while, we developed a relationship. She felt so uncomfortable. She wanted to do something for me, and I said, "No, that's perfectly fine. I'm your pastor. I'm here. I'll come. I'll sit and talk and pray with you." And she said, the next time you come, I want to cook a meal for you. I said, no, it's perfectly fine. No, I insist, I want to cook a meal for you. Now, the context of what you need to know is this poor lady couldn't really look after herself very well. The kitchen was absolutely terrible. And I don't mean terrible like you forgot to put things away. There was things crawling in the kitchen. The last thing I wanted was for her to cook for me. I tried to insist. I said, no, please, I'm perfectly fine. Listen, I'm perfectly fine just to come and pray with you. Okay? Next time I come, please, don't bring anything. Don't make anything. I'm perfectly fine. And sure enough, I made my visit. I turned up the next time, greeted the door with a big smile. And there you had it. She placed the chicken wings on the table. And everything inside me felt uncomfortable. How do you get out of this one? So I sat there and I prayed a long prayer before we decided to eat. That was the longest prayer I could have. If ever I asked God to step in and fix a broken scenario, that was the time, and I ever so delicately picked up the chicken wing and just nibbled on the exterior and so nice, thank you so much.
I somehow managed to get out of there with maybe, I think I stomached about 2 chicken wings, and that was it. That was all I could manage. And I walked away thinking, Lord, I don't want to do this job anymore. And as true as to my tale, next week I wasn't able to preach because I was in bed sick. Mercy's hard, you know. It's very hard. Mercy touches the lepers that everyone says you shouldn't do. Mercy puts you at risk, that everyone has decided to put boundaries around. Mercy forgives the soldiers that crucified Jesus, men who, by the way, never apologized for what they had done. To the world, Jesus highlights high-risk applicants who don't satisfy the requirements, applicants who are an adverse selection of credit checking. These are applicants that are not the best people to lend, because if you lend them your grace, you can probably bank on the fact that they won't make their payments up at the right time. These are individuals that, no matter how much you penalize them with more fees and fees, their debt will grow and grow and grow, because these are people who don't learn. These are people who need to be denied. But Jesus bends towards these individuals. And here's the truth in Christ: mercy isn't an optional add-on for the spiritually advanced. No. This is an essential mark of the kingdom. Many Adventists like to step forward and say that our mark is the Sabbath, and it's something that we uphold as the defining characteristic. What would it be like if you take a walk down the street, or you go to work, and what if, I know that guy. I know that he's a merciful guy. I know that woman, she's a merciful woman. What would it be like if we were characterized and identified as merciful? This blessed life isn't about finally passing the test or proving yourself or meeting the conditions. This blessed life is about living off a mercy you could never deserve. This is the beauty of the gospel. And once we receive that mercy, to extend that same mercy to those who you deem are inappropriate or do not deserve it. So where is Jesus calling for transformation in this beatitude? You may think that the first step is to show mercy to others. Actually, being merciful is a symptom of a very influential disease that Jesus wants to pass on to you. It's the result. Being merciful is not the beginning of the narrative. Here's what I mean. Wonderful. Elena, thanks for joining us and volunteering. Everyone give a round of applause for Elena. So, here's what I want you to do, Elena. I have a very light bag for you. It's very light. Thank you very much. How's that? Excellent. Okay. We have about 20 books in there. You'll be fine. Okay. All right. Here's what mercy is trying to encourage us to take a step. You may want to film this with the parents, actually. Here's what mercy is trying to invite us in. Mercy invites us to recognize what God has done for us. But one of the biggest problems I have is not the fact that Jesus forgives you. That's not actually a big issue. I can come to Jesus And I actually accept his forgiveness. I do believe that he forgives me of my sins. Do you know what I struggle with the most? Forgiving myself. I struggle with offering mercy, the same mercy that God gave me, to myself. I say that I give God everything, and I say amen, and then pick it up and carry on going with it. And Jesus is inviting us to first connect with the idea that God has covered us. This is what happens when you are unmerciful to yourself. When you're unmerciful to yourself, you start to add to the weight. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's shame. Maybe it's unfortunate. And when these things happen, they start to spill over and affect others. Maybe it's the way that you carry yourself and you end up snapping at your spouse and you really shouldn't. But these are the things, unfortunately, that you haven't actually given over to God. God has wholeheartedly said, I forgive you, but you still decide that you want to carry all of this extra weight. And it gets very, very hard. Because you have to carry this with you wherever you go. And mercy, when you don't offer mercy to yourself, it gets so hard that sometimes you hang on to your worries in such a way that it limits you from moving. Wonderful. Elena, I'd like you to try and walk over there for me, please. Faster, please. Come on, hurry up. Thank you. And could you walk back here, please? Faster, please. Come on. Okay. Just hold it there. I'll try to be as quick as I can, okay? Mercy is a weight. If we don't carry, if we don't let God carry the things that we have asked for forgiveness, if we don't let go and offer ourselves mercy, then we become completely strained. And our ability to move forward depletes. But here's what happens when we invite Jesus to literally take all of the things that weigh us down. Could you have a walk over there, please? Oh, look how she floats. Look how there is an walk back to you, please. Wow, so free. This is what mercy does. Mercy allows us to give Jesus everything so that we can be free. But there's something else wonderful about mercy. Something else absolutely wonderful. Come here. Here's the thing. Once Jesus has set you free, you feel so free, but when you meet someone else who also is carrying the weights on themselves, what do you feel moved to do? You feel moved to introduce them to someone who can carry these weights. And so what you do is you introduce them to Jesus. And Jesus is able to now carry their weights as well. You see, blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. This is a symptom, this is a result of the fact that you already experienced this mercy. Thank you so much. You can have a seat, everyone. Thank you for doing that. The ability to be merciful to yourself gives birth to a natural desire to bring mercy to other people. What Jesus is talking about here actually does have so much to do with you than others, because you cannot serve others unless you know how to be served. You cannot give grace unless you know how to receive grace. Some of us today are holding on to things We've said the words, I give it to you, God, but we live as if we are walking with a weight on our shoulder. We live as if we cannot put this down. We live as if we can't let this go. Because if I let this go, it means that I have to let God have control over my life. And some of us have said that, I'll let God have control of some of my life. You can control this bit, and this bit. But what God is inviting you into this beatitude is freedom. Is freedom. And the problem that we face is that I have a transactional relationship with my God. If I do this, this, and this, then He will provide for me. You know what? I'll give God everything when I can get rid of this. When I pay my debts, when I've cleared everything, that's when I'll give God this. Listen, I love God. I really do love God. But I want to give Him my best, you know. I don't want Him to have to try and deal with this. No, I don't like that. So just give me a bit more time, Lord. I'll deal with this. I'll get rid of this. I know I can do it. But folks, I have good news for you today. There's no credit check required. There's no application. There's no list of satisfied requirements. All He requires is your willingness to hand it over to Him. So maybe there are people here today who want to deliver mercy to other people. No. And it's great. It's wonderful. I agree. It's the Christian duty. Extend mercy to anyone in any situation. But today, I invite you to do the Jesus and extend mercy to yourself. May God bless you.
If you could please stand with me for our closing song. This is what everyone should know. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Lost, but now
So, Father, we come to you right now recognizing that you are challenging us to love ourselves the way that you love us. In some respects, it's almost easier to love others more than we love ourselves sometimes. But today, we want to receive your mercy. We want to receive your grace, not in word, not in speech, but we want to walk away from this interaction with your holy word with our head held up high. It's not necessarily because we are wonderful or great, it's because you have completely forgiven and covered us. You've extended mercy over our lives. Even when we don't deserve it, you have allowed it and made it possible for us to be worthy because of your righteousness. So Lord, so may we walk out of here mercy-filled, ready to deliver mercy wherever we go. May we be blessed because we are merciful. May we join the stream of your mercy and may it flow out of us as it nourishes all those we come into contact with. Thank you for being that merciful God. In your name I pray.